Hello, I'm Jeff Paur. Ugh. Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer at the RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. It's time for 5 takeaways from week 5 of the fantasy football season. Actually, it's week 4. Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. It is time for 5 takeaways from week 4 of the fantasy football season. I'm going to give you 5 of my fantasy takeaways from this week, going over some things I thought were important and could help you fantasy-wise going forward. So without further ado, let's start off. My first takeaway is the Chiefs offense is finally getting healthy. I thought they looked really great this past week. Xavier Worthy was back, and it was a huge factor. He led the team in both rushing and receiving. The running game still is not good for the Chiefs right now, but Worthy's a difference maker in that passing game. He can just stretch the field with his speed. They do a good job of giving him gimmick plays as well. So when he's back and playing, it's a different Chiefs offense. And then you have Rashee Rice back in a couple weeks as well. I think this Chiefs offense is ready to take off. Patrick Mahomes, too. A lot of people might be kind of disappointed with his play to start the year, but from a fantasy perspective, he's been just fine. He still has 24 plus fantasy points, 3 or 4 games. Those are solid numbers. He's playing well. He's playing better than he did last year, in my opinion. I think that this offense is really ready to take off. Remember, their schedule to start the season was absolutely brutal. They got some easier games coming up on the schedule. I'm excited about this Chiefs offense. I think Mahomes is going to be a big factor. These receivers in the passing game could do well going forward as well with Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice back is also. So I think this Chiefs offense is getting healthy and they're looking good. My next takeaway from week 4 is the Saints coaching staff is doing a really good job, in my opinion. I know they're 0-4. They've lost every game, but I think the offense is very innovative. They've done a great job, Kellen Moore, in my opinion, of playing to the strengths of the team. They've designed a lot of great plays, different formations, got people in motion, you name it. I think they're doing a really great job. They've been in every game but one. They almost won this game against the Bills. They had a touchdown overturned. It was a really close call, but they're in games. I think the offense is very creative and they're lacking talent. So once Kellen Moore can get some more options to work with, I think the Saints are set up for good things going forward. And even right now, I did not think they'd have this many fantasy relevant players, but Chris Olave, he's been good. Juwan Johnson, he's been really good. Alvin Kamara has been solid. And then Kendra Miller this last week really intrigues me. He got a lot of work, looked good. And I would not be surprised if Alvin Kamara was traded before the trade deadline because he's on a contract year, and I just don't know if the Saints want to keep him around, maybe get something for him. He's getting older. So if that happens, Kendra Miller's value is going to go through the roof. So he's a player I'm going to keep an eye on. But I've been really impressed by the Saints coaching staff despite their record, and I think they're set up for good things going forward. All right, my third takeaway from this past week is Omarion Hampton is really, really impressive. I know, hot take, right? But still, I've not seen him in a full workload capacity. He got that this past week. He looked absolutely amazing. I didn't know he caught the ball that well, but he really catches the ball well. He runs with power, speed. He can make plays on the outside. He's really the complete package at running back. And I hate to see anyone get hurt. You never want to see that. But Najee Harris going down kind of unleashed Hampton, and he has next to no competition for carries. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic the rest of the year. And his work in the passing game is a huge plus as well. 11 catches the last 2 games, ran 31 times for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy is going to be a big problem going forward. My next takeaway from this week is Drake May is really turning into a solid fantasy QB1. He has 23 plus fantasy points, 3 straight games. His worst game of the season is just 19.65 fantasy points. So that's still good numbers, despite not having a monster game. But if that's his floor, great work for any fantasy teams that took him. He has 3 touchdown games, 2 of 3. I think he's underrated at this point. I think his capacity to run the ball gets overlooked. Also, he has 2 rushing touchdowns. I really think he's going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback the rest of the season. Josh McDaniels has clearly been a positive for him as the offensive coordinator in New England. He's starting to form a good rapport. Stephon Diggs as well. He already has a good one with Hunter Henry too. So I'm really excited about Drake May and his future. I don't think his numbers to start the year are a fluke. I think he's going to be a good QB1 the rest of the way. My last takeaway from this week is Jackson Dart. He really gives this Giants offense some life. I know Malik Neighbors towards ACL. That's a huge downgrade for that offense. But even with that said, Dart gives this Giants offense some much needed life. Russell Wilson just didn't have it, in my opinion. I think the last few years showed that he's about washed. I hate to say it, but Dart is a different type player, and he threw for just 111 yards last week, but he still managed 20.95 fantasy points. So that rushing upside he has really helps his fantasy floor. He ran for 54 yards and a score. I just think he could be a good fantasy player the rest of the year, and I think he's going to really help that entire Giants offense, including Cam Scatterbo. I think Malik Neighbors getting hurt obviously is not good, but Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, they could do some good things going forward with Dart at the helm. And Theo Johnson, too, is a guy I might keep an eye on at tight end. He could end up getting a little more work. He got more this past week with Dart throwing him passes. So those are 5 of my fantasy takeaways for week 4 of the fantasy football season. I hope you had a lot of success this week, won your games, and came out on top. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.